podcast presented by the Students of S.H.I.E.L.D., where we delve into and discuss arc by arc the Batman No Man's Land saga as we are still in Batman No Man's Land Volume 1. I'm Mike, joined by...
I'm Vincent.
Oops, jinx.
All right, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about the story arc. Well, we got two issue story arcs. First one is going to be Bread and Circuses by Ian Edginton and D. which runs through Legends of the Dark Knight number 117, and I believe Batman Shadow of the Bat number 85. And then we have Mosaic, which is by Greg Rucka and Frank Tieran, which is through Batman 565 and Detective Comics 732.
So Ian Edginton is a British guy. I associate him with Warren Ellis because they did some stuff together, either co-written or he picked up from Ellis. Ultra Force at Malibu, also X Force. Basically, there was a point, it's around 2000 or 2002 or something in that range, where I think it might match up with either Claremont's second run, or maybe it was New X-Men with Morrison and all. But Marvel basically gave like all of the B tier X-Men books essentially to Warren Ellis, and then Warren Ellis co-wrote them with some people. So X-Force, X-Force Gen X, and X-Man were all Warren Ellis for like a year. But he was really plotting them all, and other people were doing the script business. And Edginton was on X-Force. He did some cross-gen work, but as a British guy, he contributed to 2000 AD and all kinds of stuff in there, and including creating a weird War of the Worlds sequel, fanfic-esque. I'm not certain if War of the Worlds is it might be public domain, but I don't know that it matters anyway. I guess you can just create a sequel. And he created that with Disraeli, the artist here, and they worked together on a few other things. And that's basically that. The guy's name is not Disraeli. It's like a totally normal name. I
imagined it was.
Yeah, it's like Matt Brooker or something. He's like, it's just a stage name. But other than that, that's their deal. They're jumping into Batman here.
And I'd say the art style here is a very kind of hyper cartoony style, almost like Mike Allred. A little bit of Allred in there, maybe. You can kind of see it, but this is very cartoon style. And I'm going to come out right off and say, I don't think this art fits the story, and I don't think the art in this episode overall is that good. So, as I've hinted that the art kind of goes to massively downhills. I think we're at the beginning of that, but I'm sure you guys please weigh in your opinions when we go around the panel. But I'd say first off, did not like the art in either of these two stories here. But we open with Batman breaking down another gang as they're trying to take territory back by spray painting over the bat symbol, but he takes them down and forcibly makes them respray the bat symbol onto the walls. Meanwhile, the Blue Boys, which is the Gotham City Police Department, by this point, you should know this, are in a gang war, and they're getting overrun as their men are completely getting more and more injured, and they're trying to draw headway by forcibly going into battles head on instead of systematically smart pitting gangs against each other like they did with the Low Boys and the Street Demons. There's a fake out moment where we think Bullock gets hit, but really it's because he's half the man he was, because he's now lost weight with not being regular food being able to be got in No Man's Land. So we think he gets shot, but really it just goes through his coat. Which I thought that was a smart inclusion, as it shows that people aren't eating as much as they want to, and food is scarce now. So it would totally make sense for these characters to start losing weight. And we know Bullock is much more of like a kind of a fat slob cop, but it's nice to see that they're putting that real world what would happen in there. Gordon's kind of like going off the deep end. He's kind of losing faith and losing kind of losing his mind. He's a little bit off kilter. He's kind of fighting with Sarah Essen throughout both of these stories. They do eventually make up by the end of Mosaic, though. But flashing to that, we have the Penguin, who is making all these deals that we saw back in the No Man's Land one shot. He's kind of the only person that has any kind of luxurious lifestyle, as he's kind of the head trader where he's making deals all over Gotham to better himself and up his safety in No Man's Land, which I think that's the perfect use of the Penguin for this. We run along these people that just got everything robbed from them, and they try to sell good batteries, but really they're bad, and they get found out. So their punishment is going to be to fight like the big bruiser that the Penguin has, and one of the Oracle's kind of sleeper agents is there, and she alerts the Oracle. Now, in this sequence, I was going to ask you who you think this is. While one of the men of the Blue Boys dies in the firefight, and kind of Gordon is securing him and confirming it down in their, it's not mortuary, it's kind of like their makeshift hospital area. And he's visited by like a shadowy voice. Did you guys think this was Oracle or someone else?
Did you mean to say Oracle just now?
Yes.
No, it's not Oracle.
Yeah, I know it's not Oracle, but like the way it's left with that last panel, you can try to infer that. I think it's Two-Face, but in the way this is leading towards.
Yeah, I'm not actually certain on the spoiler for this. My guess is also Two-Face, but there's another like mysterious tease in the other arc, and may or may not be the same person teased. I'm not sure. Honestly, the first like 3 panels of this page, I thought Gordon was going behind everyone's back and actually working with Batman. And I think actually for the like first 2 lines, like first 2 panels, I think there's some slight misdirection, and you're possibly supposed to think it's Batman.
Oh,
but
yeah,
then
definitely.
it increasingly is clearly not Batman.
It's not after Gordon says that this voice has killed someone before, and obviously that can't be Batman.
Yeah.
And this is the part where everyone will go, no, but Batman's killed people before. No, horseshit. No. Batman doesn't kill. So Oracle's in her clock tower getting phoned in by Batman and Batgirl wanting information on the Penguin, because Batman has to make himself known publicly again, because we saw with when he was dealing with Scarface that he couldn't really, like, the legend of Batman that he built himself up as is gone now, because everyone's adjusted to this horrible lifestyle, and no one's scared of Batman anymore. So he has to go make himself a force and be known again. So he goes immediately and confronts Penguin, and to all these people that are going to basically get killed by this huge honking big bruiser, kind of like a wrestler guy. Batman just shows up and he says to Penguin, I'll fight these people, and if I win, they get their freedom. But this issue just ends with Batman showing up and he's back. So, Michael, I'll let you take over for Batman Shadow of the Bat 85.
Okay, so yeah, Shadow of the Bat 85, Bread and Circuses Part 2, the conclusion, starts in medias res as it would Part 2 of a story. Batman's declaring this is his city, his law, he's in charge, and he's going to establish that by fighting the Penguin's goons instead of the people he has fighting them for this gladiatorial match he's set up. It's the Bread and Circuses, Hannah Circenses. Batman makes a deal that if he beats Pitbull is the name of the no, you're Pitbull, like it's a metaphor. Okay. If he beats the thug, uh, Penguin has to stop doing these gladiator matches, and he's gotta, you know, pay the people living in his area in a reasonable manner, like give them food in exchange for work instead of, you know, making them fight each other and dangling his supplies over them. And if he wins, well, he just gets to say that he killed Batman. And Penguin's like, obviously, you can take that guy. That's not a fair fight. You're going to have to fight all my guys. And Batman's kind of doubtful if he can do this, but he's like, you know, got no choice. I have no publicity right now. People have forgotten all about me for some reason. They've got to see me take down this mob. And like, I feel like as the reader, there's definitely not much suspense there. Like, he's Batman. He can take down all these nameless goons, but for him in the moment, it seems like he thinks this is going to be a challenge, and I'm sure it is a bit of a challenge, but yeah, then we see the police and Gordon find out what's going on, because while Batman's having this fight, word's getting out to the other gangs, and the gangs are all flocking into the Penguin's lair to watch this fight. Oh, I totally missed a bit earlier. Batman punches the Penguin in the nose, and the rest of the issue, he's like clutching his nose, stopping it from bleeding, and he's mispronouncing everything. So that's a little darkly humorous. Or I guess not that dark. He's a bad guy, but anyway, yeah. Batman keeps up with the fight, and he's got the new mysterious Batgirl with him. She's kind of just watching from a distance in case she needs to help. I think earlier he said like he told her not to come in with him. Yeah, he told her to stay behind. He said he had to do this alone. Oh yeah, and then we get a little detour. One of the gangs or group or a segment of one of the gangs at least has gotten exterminated, and the GCPD tag is up, and it's heavily implied that this has been done by whoever the creepy, mysterious voice Gordon was talking to was, but Gordon seems a little possibly surprised by this. Like he didn't think it was going to go that far, but yeah. So then we go back to Batman fighting the Penguins people. Penguins eating some fancy food while watching it. I think earlier, if you look close, there's a little box of caviar. Then we see Gordon. We come back to Gordon, who's still clearly having angst for making a deal with whoever this was. He says he's made a deal with the devil. And there's a panel here of him looking in the mirror, and the mirror is fractured, and his face is split at an angle. So I think that's a pretty clear foreshadowing that it's Two-Face he's made the deal with. But yeah, that would be, I guess, at this point, is that it's Two-Face, like you guys were saying. And let's see. Oh yeah, we find that because of GCPD being given credit for wiping out that gang, the other gangs want to negotiate with them. But then, and Gordon's happy about that, but gets an ominous note saying justice has been served. They were the first of many. So yeah, we kind of leave that thread to continue later. And turns out that everybody's betting on Batman in this fight. And if Batman wins, which is looking like he will, Penguin's going to lose a whole lot of money. So he cuts off the fight. And he says, like, oh, Batman cheated because he didn't kill anybody. These are fights to the death. And then the audience is not happy about this. All of the gangs have come as they try to beat up Penguin. But then Batman's like, oh no, I'm protecting Penguin. Penguin's still in charge, but I'm in charge of him. And so, yeah, Batman's pretty much puts the Penguin in his place. And he's going to be kind of sort of tolerating the Penguin, I guess, letting him work under him, making sure he's not doing anything too bad. But it just one of the many ways he's resorting to keeping order in no man's land. And clearly, a Penguin is very upset by this turn of events, and the new Batgirl's pretty like she sees all the gangs running out of the building. She's like, I don't like the look of this, and Batman's like, what's not to like? Like I guess what I guess what she didn't like was just them going back out on the streets, and or maybe she thought that meant Batman had lost, but he hadn't. I don't know what. Not quite sure what exactly was being conveyed in those last couple of panels, but so yeah, it's the end of the story. This little arc, and yeah, I definitely enjoyed this little two-part story. I thought it was a decent little segment in No Man's Land. Definitely agree with what Mike said that the art didn't really fit at all. I don't think I wasn't super impressed by most of the art in this episode, honestly, but and especially like compared to other art we've seen throughout these arcs. I mean, it's varied from story to story, but yeah, the story was fine. It's we're kind of just moving along, more development in this story. So yeah, I'll give it to you guys. What do you guys think of these past two issues?
I'm opposite from you guys. I like the art pretty much in both story arcs. There's definitely problems with both. And I'll on the next episode, on the next arc, I'll talk about some criticisms and stuff. But here, I kind of like it. It's this episode, where we're piecing together these two arcs. It definitely does stand out so far because everything else. I mean, we've had like Bill Sienkiewicz inks on an issue or two and everything, but otherwise, a lot of the other stuff has mostly been like pretty close to what you'd expect from a like mainstream Batman book of this era. Just slight differences in style and quality. Whereas both of these arcs, it's a lot more stylized aesthetics. And this one, I like the cartoony thing, and I think it works in a way with the Penguin because the Penguin is, among the villains, kind of one of the more comedic ones, and not in the like dark way as the Joker. Even though I feel like this art style could also possibly work for the Joker. But also, I don't know if you guys picked this up. I'm probably reaching, but early on, when Batman initially shows up with the Penguin, he punches his nose. And Michael pointed out how that affects his speech patterns and everything, makes him a little bit funnier / harder to read for that. But then he bandages it up, and I think the bandage makes his nose look like a beak.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was a kind of a clever touch.
Yeah, I like Mike, I believe, pointed out, but I like how we're seeing like people using bows and arrows as the bullet supply and maintenance and everything like dwindles. A lot of people like returning to more basic, stripped down things. That's pretty much it. I think I mean, Gordon clearly cannot handle this.
Oh yeah, it's beyond saving at this point, really, kind of.
Yeah, Gordon's just
it's even worse
really
in the next story.
Not to fall apart. And the other thing I wanted to say is, I feel like didn't we get this exact deal between Batman and Penguin like at the beginning of the show? I guess it was technically a separate status quo. I think that might have even been like immediately after the quake and before before the time skip where Batman left Gotham.
Yeah, it was. Which I'm imagining at that point, Penguin was like, well, Batman's not around to release anything, so I'm going to do my own shit.
But it was basically the exact same deal. Like, yeah. I'm not going to lean on you or lock you up, and you're going to be my little ear.
I liked the story. I thought it was a good 2-issue story. I just think the art, I don't hate the art here. I don't like it a lot more in the next story. I just think it's the wrong kind of book for this artist. I think Batman's a wrong fit. If this was Superman, probably it would be I think, or Flash would be a much better fit. But it's I think it's just comes down to a taste thing. Like, I don't think the art's bad. I just think it's on the wrong book. But Vince, take us into
looking back through it, it's definitely decently done. I think I like the way he draws the Penguin more than Batman. Like, Batman looks a little awkward in a lot of these panels, but the cartooniness does really suit the Penguin, as Vince was saying.
It's Batman's face, I think, is the main issue for me.
Yeah. Honestly, and I'll get more into this in a second. But I think actually, and I think we've sort of gone to this point on a few other artists. I think often the standout piece of the art that calls into question a style is how they actually draw Batman himself.
Yeah.
Because I think both of the artists here, they have really unique styles, but there's just something off about their Batman, and their Batman doesn't quite sell in the same way as the world around him.
Right. And I know that was our big takeaway from Buckingham, is that his Batman looks good. It's just like in some scenes, but in some other ones, the faces just look wonky. The cape's kind of out, like sometimes the ears are too long, and they change sizes in different panels on the same page. But I think from other aspects, we like Buckingham's art in like in the scenes without Batman on it. It's fine. It's just it's very weird how the kind of, like you pointed out, like it's very weird how the case of artists critically is, wow, this is good, but the Batman was bad, and that's kind of not acceptable in a Batman book. But I digress.
Yep. So our next half of this episode, because they're just 2-issue arcs, is the arc Mosaic, running across Batman 565, Detective 732, Greg Rucka, and Frank Tierin. We've already talked about Rucka, and I think we mentioned Frank Tierin because I think he did like a backup, or I'm just having like deja vu. But
I think you're having deja vu. You definitely mentioned Rucka before, though.
Yeah. I did a little bit of deeper digging on Rucka just to check exactly his career trajectory. So that Montoya Chronicles story was his first big 2 work, and it was in the middle of Whiteout being published, which was his indie book at Oni with Steve Lieber. And Steve Lieber, currently drawing Jimmy Olsen, and Greg Rucka currently writing the companion books to that Lois Lane. They're both back at DC. Well, I don't know that Lieber ever did any major DC stuff before. And then he had 2 more Chronicle stories, and then is contributing to this. And he doesn't leave the Batman realm until Black Widow, which we mentioned before in connection to Devin Grayson. Frank Tierin broke in with a not super long, like half a year, 8-month run, mid-90s run on Punisher. He did a Sabretooth one-shot, and he never got really big, so I believe he went into concept art, some kind of movie, animation, whatever kind of alternate media work, like more behind the scenes. And it's kind of sad to say, but it's somewhat understandable that he didn't get huge. He doesn't have a very mass appeal style. But those Punisher issues in particular, those are like cult classics to like certain people. Just because his style's so weird. So we open the first issue with a quick dream sequence, sort of, where Barbara Gordon is reminiscing, swinging through the city as Batgirl. And this arc, Mosaic, we're dealing with some Black Mask, False Face Society stuff. The new Batgirl tries to save one of Oracle's informants from an abduction, but I guess she just misses because because at first it seems like she's successful, and then later it's like, oh, I fucked up. And Batman checks in on Lockup real quick, who actually, I'm sure I knew this, but I double checked, and Lockup, one of the characters, originally appeared on the animated series, similar to Harley Quinn, who eventually we'll see Harley Quinn come in. But in comics, brought over to comics, he's a relatively recent thing, mostly focused on by Chuck Dixon. And Mike may want to fill in some of the tiny details, but my understanding is Lockup is basically just a vigilante who's really obsessed with jailing criminals and kind of abusing them to the point where he himself basically comes off as a villain. But this is no man's land, so Batman is like, whatever, you're my jailer.
Considering this is the first time I've ever seen the character, I got nothing to add.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's like a occasional 90s thing. I get him, they have nothing to do with each other really, but for some reason I get him confused with the minor Superman character, Blockbuster.
Oh. See, I get Blockbuster, but Blockbuster for me is like a Nightwing villain, though.
Well, I'm just further proving that I get them mixed up and don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Nightwing thing. Then who am I thinking of? There's some kind of Superman guy who was like from the Jurgens era, and he's like street level, like minor metropolis vigilante. I can't think of his name.
Oh, I know who you're. Yeah,
I'm getting three.
I know who you're talking about. I just forget his name right now.
So Gordon still commanding the Blue Boys to paint over bat symbols, and Black Mask storms the tower. And his current status quo, which I think is new to this. I mean, we've seen some False Face Society stuff earlier, but those guys were like splintered off from Black Mask. But here is Black Mask leading some guys, and their new gimmick is they ripped off the masks, and now they're like they've mutilated their faces, and they're not hiding behind the masks. But obviously, we're still going to call him Black Mask. So they stormed the tower, the central like Gotham Tower, which is where Babs is in like her Rapunzel-esque Oracle role. And Oracle is about to snipe and kill Black Mask when Batgirl swings in, which at first, at the end of this, it really affects her. And at the end of this issue, it's not entirely clear what's going on. But my quick, before Mike takes us into the next issue, my quick commentary on Tyrion is, again, I think different from you guys. I kind of like it, but his Batman, and especially actually in the scenes where he's with Batgirl, it doesn't work because he draws Batman pretty thin as well. And next to Batgirl, they're not even that different. And also there's like occasional close-ups where like Bruce has like a ton of scruff, or it's just like way too much detail on his chin area. There's also, I don't know if it's in this issue or the next, but there's a face-up on Batman at one point, and he has like a really weird smile going on, or something wrong with his teeth. And the like one panel really stood out to me. It looks like he has like a huge underbite.
I mean, he just makes him look like a mouth breather, but yeah.
Yep.
Oh, cool. So Batman 565.
No. That's what I just said.
Yeah. Detective Comics 732. See, this is the part where I gotta. Now that we have the banners, I can't get fooled by the banners. But Oracle's with her rifle on the roof, and she takes a shot and misses. When Batgirl, as we saw, flung in and started throwing gas bombs everywhere to kind of disperse the crowd as Montoya and Bullock are pinned down. And they're running in to help Barbara, where Gordon's there too. Batgirl kind of gets everything settled as the cops are moving their way out. They got some wounded, but like no one's dead, I believe. But we see Babs leave a number on her desk, which I'm assuming is to let her agents know where she's gone if they come looking for her. Because she kind of leaves with Gordon, or at least it's shown like that. But I don't remember her actually leaving, which was the weird thing. Because Batman goes and talks with her later, and she's back in the clock tower. Though the clock tower is kind of messed up as it's gotten a bunch of like torn glass and stuff in it now. Like it's not really as secured as it once was. Black Mask is taken out as he was shot, and he's just kind of laying in a pool of his own blood as Batman's just dragging him back, and tells the GCPD to lock them up in like, or he tells Lockout to lock them up in like Group D. His KG Beast is just like kind of putting down suppressing fire for any of the false faces that are still kind of lingering around. Just kind of like this horrifying scene of just like KG Beast is just hanging out and Batman's cool with it, which I thought was weird.
Yeah, KG Beast is what really throws this off because again, my understanding of Lockup is like he's half the time he's just a straight up like low level villain, but Batman has worked with him before. But KG Beast being here and like Lockup's right hand man, which also seems reversed. Like KG Beast on like the power, like the hierarchy level of villains is way higher than Lockup. It's super weird that he's like playing the right hand man and like just working for Batman tangentially.
Oh, can I point out something real quick?
Yes.
You said you thought Barbara like left a number on the desk, but next panel you see a close up on the note. It says like Caucasian female 50. Like it looks like I thought she was like taking notes on what she could tell about the new Batgirl, trying to figure out who she was.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yep, I'm totally wrong on that. Very spot there. That makes sense.
I'm not sure if she can tell Caucasian. I guess just the voice, maybe, if she could hear her from up there, but like completely covers her.
No idea.
Yeah, that's what I took notice of. It's not the voice. Batgirl, she doesn't really say much, and there's no way Babs could hear her from there. And also, I feel like, I mean, there is some degree to it, but trying to register someone's ethnicity from their voice is an even weirder, like, kind of situation. My guess was the Batgirl mask is so skin tight. Maybe she's like really reaching with like the facial features, but the Caucasian part is really weird.
We see Gordon laying into two of his men that messed up and tells them that they're now on sewage duty for like the next 2 weeks, which is pretty funny. But then he basically goes and has it out with Essen as they just have a shouting match each other, which is then like kind of juxtaposed with the same scene happening with Batman and Barbara as Barbara's yelling at Batman about the new Batgirl, asking like, "How can you replace me like this?" Going as far as saying like she has my legs, which is like, I was like, okay, I think that's a little bit too much, but in terms of like, I think it's a little bit just kind of too far out there in terms of what someone would say, but it is kind of, this is the first time she's seen Batgirl, and obviously it's the second Batgirl, so it's the first time. Well, technically the third, but it's the second time that someone has donned the mantle of this character that she kind of retired and would possibly seem to be retired. So I do like how she did confront Batman with this, and then Essence confronting Gordon with the way that he's starting to act as he's losing it, and he's kind of acting like a child as he's throwing things on the ground and breaking them. Eventually, they do make up though, and it all works out. Yeah, literally, they make out. And then we have Batman basically just tells Babs, you're going to have to trust me on this. And for whatever reason, she does. And then we see one of the False Face Society kind of taken in at this kind of dark trial, and the court perceives him guilty. And we're left going, all right, who could this be? I'm pretty sure it's Two-Face.
Yeah, this one is this one is way more like the hint here is way more obvious than previously. Whoever Gordon is working with behind the shadows, even though Gordon gets a note that talks about justice, so I think it might be Two-Face in both instances. And so off panel is the mysterious villain, possibly Two-Face. On panel is Tallyman. Tallyman is a minor villain who first appeared during Nightfall, during the like the Asbats section.
Oh,
I don't.
he looks pretty.
I don't. Yeah, he's weird. He has a cool design. He's like very gangly with a big hat and everything. I'm not really. I only really bothered to see when he was from. I don't think he has like a significant gimmick or anything.
Like Tally, man, that sounds like it should be like Victor Zaz's name or something, because he has all the tally marks all over him.
Yeah, I don't know what his deal was, and the reason I googled it was because they call him Tallyman, or they say Tally or something, and for a second I was thinking, is this like some weird new interpretation of Calendar Man? But no, I don't. He's so. Years later, a figure dressed in the strange dark robes of an old-fashioned tax collector emerges in Gotham, calling himself the Tallyman. He's hired by the underworld to collect on debts owed. His fee is not money, but human lives. So he's like
Interesting.
a tax collector gimmick.
I do want to talk about Tyrion's art here, where we know with Essen and Gordon's relationship, we know that Gordon is older than Essen, but you don't have to draw Gordon looking like he's 85 years old and Essen like she's 22.
Well, on Gordon, there's lots of cross-hatching or something, and again, that goes back to my points about like when you see Batman's chin. But like a lot of the like landscape shots and everything, I really like. He has a lot of Sienkiewicz in him, and I actually like his Babs a lot.
I thought she was weird in some scenes, but for the most part, she was okay. I thought Tyrion's highlights were in the crowd shots with the False Face Society, where he kind of captured like their unhinged craziness. And I thought the landscape designs, like I said, were good. All of the environments were very, very good. It's the characters that are shaking my head at, and a lot of them.
Yeah,
and this guy we really got a horror book of some kind.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is he never really like they never put him on something that you think would make a ton of sense.
Spawn would make a ton of sense.
Yeah, I mean, you could see him doing something like Spawn or Spectre. Well, to be fair, Spawn's not that far off from Batman. So if he's going to work on Spawn, you think he'd work on Batman. But like definitely like something like the Spectre or Werewolf by Night. I don't know.
Moon Knight wouldn't be terrible.
Yeah, something like a little more horror angle. You can still keep in like the street level angle, but like Punisher was a weird fit. And then
Morbius could go right. Ghost Rider wouldn't be maybe a terrible idea.
Yeah. But yeah, I think his style is super interesting. I don't know that it necessarily lands it here.
Yeah, I think very much a case of artists that would be much better on different properties, I think. But not the biggest fan of Tyrion. I thought like I said, all the line work was right. The character work needs tightened up, especially on faces. But that's all I got on Mosaic. I thought I enjoyed the arc. I enjoyed both of these arcs. I don't think they were bad. I thought Rucka's writing on Mosaic, though, I think he's not definitely the Greg Rucka we know yet. He's still green, and I think that showed in the scenes with Batman and Barbara.
Yep. I don't really have anything further. Michael, you got any closing thoughts?
Yeah, not much more. Yeah, I think I enjoyed the Penguin one a little more than Mosaic because I felt like the Black Mask story ended kind of abruptly, and then the Batman Barber conversations were a little awkward. But yeah, decent stuff overall.
Cool. Thanks for watching this episode. Also, we didn't talk about a ton, but we're on a slightly new format and
Well, we
still
talked
getting
about it a week
show
ago, but
yeah, but it's a different show. We have different fan bases.
we have fan bases.
Yeah. So thanks for watching this one. Tune in next time, which you'll have a double. We're recording one immediately after this. So if you're live, just wait 10 seconds. If you're not live, click on the next video.
You have a special bonus episode.